You. Na Suyin's voice cut across the hall like a blade. The centerpiece on the head table is wrong. And the lighting on the entrance arch needs to be warmer. Fix it before tomorrow. Alexis Baker looked up from her clipboard. For months of work surrounded her, every floral arrangement placed with intention, every lighting rig angled to specification, every table dressed exactly according to the brief. She had done a final check this morning and another one an hour ago. Nothing in this room was wrong. I'm sorry, she said. Sian looked at her the way certain people looked at certain other people, a quick evaluation that ended before it began. Did I stutter? Fix it. I designed this room, Alexis said pleasantly. Everything in it is exactly where it's supposed to be according to the brief your fiancé approved. Something moved behind Sian's eyes. A recalibration. You're the planner? Yes. Have been for 4 months. Sian's expression didn't apologize. It was rearranged. She moved closer, her heels sharp against the marble floor. Well, the centerpiece is still wrong. And I want it fixed. She tilted her head. I don't know who approved your involvement in this wedding, but I can have that conversation very quickly. Have it, Alexis said. I'll be here. You don't speak to me like... Like what? Alexis said. Like someone doing her job? Because that's all I'm doing. If you have a brief change, speak to me professionally or speak to my contract. Either way, the centerpiece stays. Sian's jaw tightened. She reached for her phone. I'm calling Woo Hyun right now and having you removed from this entire. That won't be necessary. Jang Woo Hyun was standing at the entrance of the hall. He was still in his coat, which meant he had just arrived, which meant he had heard enough. He looked at Sian. Then at Alexis. Then back at Sian with an expression that was completely controlled and completely unreadable. Alexis is exactly who I hired, he said. And everything in this room is exactly what I approved. He looked at his fiancée. Is there a problem? Sian opened her mouth. Closed it. Smiled. No, she said. No problem. And that was the moment, though nobody in that room understood it yet, that everything began. Sian thought Alexis was just staff. She had no idea she was speaking to the woman holding her entire wedding together. And if this is your first time here, subscribe and stay with me because you wouldn't want to miss what happens next. 6 months earlier, when Nadia slid the booking file across the desk and said, Korean family, old money, big guest list, private, Alexis had looked at the numbers and said yes before she finished the sentence. It was the largest contract of her career. Famous last words, Nadia said. Go make the confirmation call, Alexis said, and pulled the brief toward her. She spent the first 2 weeks learning the Jang family's preferences through a careful coordinator who communicated exactly what was needed and nothing more. Alexis never asked questions outside the job. That was professionalism. What she didn't know, and had no way of knowing, was that 2 weeks after her venue walkthrough with Suyin, Jang Woo-hyun received a message from a number he didn't recognize. A photograph. Then another. Then a third. Na Suyin and a man Woo-hyun had never seen, in places she told him she wasn't, doing things that could not be misread. He sat with it for 4 minutes. Not because he needed time to understand what he was looking at. Because he was deciding what kind of man he was going to be about it. Then he picked up his phone and called a private investigator. He needed to know how long. He needed to know everything. By that evening he knew everything. 2 years. The relationship had been running for almost the entire length of their engagement. He thought about his mother, who had welcomed Suyin into their family with the full weight of her trust. He thought about the 200 people who had already confirmed their attendance at a wedding that was now something else entirely. Then he picked up his phone and called the blackmailer. He paid him not because he was forgiving Suyin, but because he was not done yet, and he would not be rushed, and he refused to let a stranger control the ending of his own story. He performed perfectly for the 3 weeks that followed. Attended the final pre-wedding dinner with Suyin on his arm warm, present, the picture of a man looking forward to his wedding. Suyin, who had been sick with anxiety since the moment she saw his face the day she came home late and couldn't explain where she'd been, seemed to exhale. He watched her relax across the table and felt nothing for it. Alexis ran the final preparations without noticing anything unusual. The groom was composed. The bride was slightly nervous. Everything was on track. The night before the wedding, she got a call late, which sometimes happened, and answered immediately because good wedding planners always answered the night before. It was Woo-hyun. He thanked her for her work. Said he would see her tomorrow. She said goodnight and went back to her checklist and thought nothing of it. She didn't sleep much. She never did the night before. Too many variables, too many moving parts, too many things that could go sideways in the first 10 minutes of a morning when 200 people were counting on everything to be exactly right. She was at the venue by 6. Her team was already there. By 8, every detail was exactly where it needed to be. 200 guests arrived and filled the seats, and the room looked like everything she had promised it would. She was at the back, earpiece in, operating at the calm frequency of someone who had done this enough times that the nerves had long ago converted into focus. The processional began. Na Suyeon walked down the aisle looking like she had been designed for this moment, beautiful, composed, the particular walk of a woman who believed she had gotten away with something. She reached the front. She looked at Woo-hyun. He looked back at her. Then he turned to the room. Quietly. Controlled. He told them the wedding would not be proceeding. He told them why. Not with anger, with precision. The photographs. The man. 2 years. The blackmail he had paid was not to protect Suyeon, but to ensure this moment happened on his terms and not a stranger's. He told the room that he refused to let someone else control the ending of his own story. He thanked his guests for coming. The room absorbed it the way 200 powerful people absorbed something unexpected simultaneously, silence first, then the sound of understanding moving through the space like a current. Someone near the front made a sharp sound and immediately stopped. Na Suyeon stood at the altar. She couldn't move. Couldn't speak. The room that was supposed to confirm her future was watching her unravel in real time, and there was nowhere to go. Her mother's face in the third row was something she would not be able to forget for years. At the back, Alexis was watching. She was a professional. She didn't react. But behind her eyes, she was already calculating 17 phone calls, vendor cancellations, the catering, the flowers, the accommodation for guests who had flown in from abroad, the deposits, the contracts, the entire architecture of a 6-month project that had just become her biggest professional crisis in a single quiet sentence. Woo-hyun walked out. He passed her on the way. Stopped. Looked at her directly. Stay, he said. I need you to manage what comes next. Whatever your rate is, triple it. He kept walking. Alexis put her earpiece back in. Nadia, she said quietly. Clear your weekend. The next 72 hours were organized chaos, and Alexis moved through them like water, methodical, warm, completely unrattled. She redirected the catering to charity, sent the flowers to a children's hospital, and spent 2 days untangling flights, hotels, vendors, and contracts with the calm efficiency that made people trust her under pressure. Mrs. Jang barely spoke for 3 days. The humiliation of not knowing, of sitting in that room while her son quietly detonated everything, sat on her like something physical. She moved through the house carefully, formally, as though she might shatter if she moved too fast. At some point during the second day, Alexis brought her tea. Sat with her for a few minutes in the side room off the main hall. Didn't say anything particularly meaningful. Just sat. Mrs. Jang looked at her afterward with something that was not yet warm, but was the beginning of the possibility of it. One evening when everyone else had gone, Woo-hyun found Alexis in the main hall sitting on the floor with a sandwich because she had forgotten to have lunch. He looked at her for a moment. Then he sat down beside her without asking. She noticed he did this, sat without asking, and filed it. You do this for every client, he said. I do the job I was hired to do. The wedding is cancelled. The job is technically done. She looked at him. You tripled my rate and told me to stay. That means the job isn't done. He almost smiled. They sat on the floor of his family's venue eating in silence, and neither of them found it strange. Na Suyeon went home from the altar to a family that was furious, not at Woo-hyun, at her. Her mother wouldn't look at her. Her father made calls trying to manage damage that was already done. Her friends went quiet one by one because proximity to her right now cost something nobody wanted to pay. She had thrown away a man who had loved her completely, and she had done it for 2 years without hesitation, and now she sat in her childhood bedroom at 28 years old and understood, for the first time, what she had actually done. She tried to call Woo-hyun. He didn't answer. She went to his building. His people turned her away politely, with the particular politeness of people who have been told to be polite about it. She wrote a letter. It came back unopened. She tried every avenue and found every door closed, and the man she had betrayed for 2 years had closed his world to her so completely it was as though she had never existed in it. Then she heard through a mutual connection that he had been at the venue every day. That the wedding planner was there too. That they had been seen having coffee. That something was happening. She found out Alexis's name. She started paying attention. The fallout management stretched across 2 weeks and brought Woo-hyun and Alexis into constant proximity in the way that shared crisis always does, pulling people together around the same problem until the problem stops being the only thing in the room. He was there every day dealing with the business implications of the cancelled alliance, the family dynamics, the things his world required of him. She was there every day methodically dismantling what she had built, redirecting resources, making his family's worst moment look handled. They worked well together in the specific way of two people who were both exceptional at what they did and recognized it in each other without needing to say so. He asked her opinion on things that had nothing to do with weddings. She gave it directly. He asked follow-up questions. She answered better the second time. He took her for coffee after a particularly long day. Then again 2 days later. Then it stopped being about the coffee and they both knew it and neither of them named it. Nadia, who had been watching all of this with the focused interest of someone who had been telling Alexis to find someone for 2 years, cornered her one afternoon. Is it professional? Yes, Alexis said. Is it only professional? Alexis didn't answer. That's what I thought, Nadia said. Go home, Nadia. Nadia did not go home. Sean found him at a restaurant she knew he frequented. She apologized carefully, without tears, which cost her more than crying would have. She told him she understood what she had thrown away, that she would do whatever it took to fix it. Woo-hyun listened quietly. Then he said, no, nothing else. Outside the restaurant, Seon stood on the pavement with the cold realization that he had already moved on. And when she heard the wedding planner's name connected to his, something in her shifted from regret into resentment. A week later, footage from the cancelled wedding appeared online. Not the ceremony itself. The moments around it. Clips from backstage. Security recordings. Staff phone videos that should never have left the venue. Mrs. Jang sitting alone after the guests left. Seon standing frozen at the altar. Alexis coordinated vendors while guests whispered behind her. Woo-hyun speaking to Alexis near the loading entrance late that night. The internet did what it always did. Built a story out of fragments. Some people called Alexis professional under pressure. Others called her opportunistic. The comments got uglier after someone posted a still image of Woo-hyun sitting beside her on the floor of the empty venue while she ate a sandwich out of a catering box. The implications spread fast. Alexis watched it happen in real time and felt something unfamiliar, helplessness. Because logistics could be fixed. Public imagination could not. Woo-hyun found her sitting alone in the venue office long after everyone else had gone. You shouldn't read the comments, he said. Alexis laughed once without humor. People think I planned this. I know. She looked at him. Your mother saw them too, didn't she? That was the first thing that made him look away. Seon found Alexis at her studio. She didn't knock. She walked in and she was done performing composure. You inserted yourself into a situation that had nothing to do with you. Alexis looked at her calmly. You cheated on him for 2 years. Silence. You lost him before I ever met him, Alexis said. That's not my fault. Seon stared at her for a long moment. You have no idea what kind of world you're walking into. Alexis opened the door. Then I'll learn. Goodbye, Seon. She went to Mrs. Jang. She told her a version of events designed to make Alexis look opportunistic. A woman who had recognized a powerful man in his most vulnerable moment and positioned herself accordingly. Who had been in his family's space every day at the exact time he needed someone. Who had moved with a speed that should give anyone pause. Mrs. Jang listened. Then she called Woo-hyun. Are you certain about Alexis? She asked quietly. whether the timing of everything wasn't worth considering. Woo-hyun was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Who came to see you?" His mother hesitated. "Mother. Who came to see you?" She told him. He went to Alexis first. He sat across from her and told her all of it, seeing going to his mother, what was said, what his mother was now quietly carrying. Alexis listened without interrupting. When he finished, she said, "What do you want to do?" "I want to end this completely. But I need your help. Tell me what you need." They set a trap. He told his mother he was reconsidering. Woo-hyun gave his mother just enough uncertainty to pass along. It reached Seon exactly as expected. She called Mrs. Jang back, and, because she believed she had finally found the crack she had been looking for, she said more than she should have. Believing she had finally found an opening, Seon said more than she should have. His people were recording. Mrs. Jang listened to the recording alone in her sitting room with the door closed. When it was finished, she sat very still for a long time. She thought about the woman who had brought her tea and sat with her without needing to fill the silence. She thought about the 200 guests she had looked at across the altar without understanding what her son was about to say. She thought about what it meant to trust someone and what it cost when that trust was used against you. Then she called Woo-hyun. "Bring Alexis to dinner," she said. "Mother. I need to apologize to her." "Bring her." The dinner was just the three of them, and it was quiet in the way of meals where the important things are said simply because they cannot bear to be dressed up. Mrs. Jang looked at Alexis across the table and said, "I listened to the wrong person. I let someone who had already destroyed my family's trust walk into my home, and I listened to her." She paused. "I'm sorry." Alexis said, "You were protecting your son." "That's not wrong. I was protecting the wrong thing." Mrs. Jang looked at Woo-hyun, then back at Alexis. "You managed our worst day with more dignity than we deserved. I won't forget that." She picked up her chopsticks. "Now eat. The food is getting cold." Woo-hyun caught Alexis's eye across the table. She looked at him with an expression that said she was filing this moment somewhere she intended to keep it. He looked back at her the way he had been looking at her for weeks, with the particular attention of a man who has stopped pretending he doesn't know what he's feeling. 2 months later, she was at a new venue, a different client, a different wedding, the same focus she brought to every room she walked into. Final checks. The flowers were right. The lighting was where it needed to be. She was moving between tables, adjusting centerpieces with the particular efficiency of someone who could see the whole picture and the smallest details simultaneously, which was the thing that made her exceptional at what she did. Woo-hyun was sitting in a chair near the back, watching. He had said he was nearby. He said that more frequently now, and neither of them pretended it was coincidental. She turned and caught him. "You're in the way," she said. "I'll move." He didn't move. She walked over to make him move. He reached into his jacket. She went completely still. "You managed the worst day of my life and made it survivable," he said. "You told me what to do when I couldn't see clearly. You sat on the floor of my family's venue eating a sandwich, and somehow that was the moment I understood what I was feeling." He looked at her steadily. "I don't want to plan anything without you. Any of it." He opened the box. She looked at the ring. Looked at him. Looked at the venue around her, flowers, lighting, everything exactly right, the way she always made everything exactly right. She thought about the first day she walked into the Jang venue with her clipboard and her earpiece and her absolute certainty that this was just another booking. She thought about the night they sat on the floor of the ruined venue eating sandwiches while everything around them collapsed. "You showed up at my venue and watched me work," she said. "You're worth watching." "Yes," she said. "That's a yes." From the back of the venue, Nadia made a sound that carried through the entire building, across 3 empty reception rooms, and out through a side door that someone had left open. Woo-hyun looked in the direction of the sound. Alexis said, "Ignore her." Nadia appeared in the doorway approximately 4 seconds later, both hands over her mouth, vibrating at a frequency that suggested she had been waiting for this specific moment for considerably longer than 2 months. She pointed at Woo-hyun. "You," she said, voice breaking slightly, "picked very well." "I know," he said. Mrs. Jang found out that evening when Woo-hyun called her. She was quiet for exactly 1 second after he told her. Then she said, finally, "Mother, I'm just saying." She paused. "Bring her for dinner Sunday. Tell her I'm making jjigae." She hung up before he could answer. He looked at Alexis, still standing in the middle of the venue she had just made perfect, ring on her finger, looking at him with the expression of a woman who had walked into what she thought was just another job and come out the other side of something she hadn't seen coming. "Sunday," he said. "My mother is making jjigae." "I'll be there," she said. And she was. 1 month later, the venue looked exactly the way Alexis had always known it should. She had designed it 6 months ago for a wedding that never happened. Back then, she stood here with a clipboard and earpiece, treating it like just another job. Then everything fell apart. Then she sat on the floor eating a sandwich while it did. Now the flowers were white and cream, the lighting warm and exact. Smaller guest list. Intentional. Quietly important. Nadia was already crying in the third row. Woo-hyun stood at the front, watching Alexis walk toward him like he couldn't afford to look away. No control this time. No distance. Just certainty. She reached him. "Same venue," she said. "Different ending," he replied. Mrs. Jang dabbed her eyes like she hadn't been waiting for this moment. Nadia gave up completely. Alexis looked at Woo-hyun, the man who had watched her work, sat beside her on the floor, and stayed. Same place. Same light. This time, everything held. If you stayed with this story to this point, you already know how it ended. Alexis didn't just survive the chaos, she came out of it in control. If you enjoyed this one, subscribe and stay with me for more stories like this. And tell me, do you think Woo-hyun made the right choice, or did Suyeon lose him the moment she decided to play games? Thanks for watching, see you in the next one.